He might be saying the same sentences, but the good communicator, not that good communicator is always right about his judgment, but he makes an educated guess. For example, good communicator knows there is a rule in communication that negative suggestion produce an opposite effect or reverse effect. Give you an example. Please do not think of an elephant. What comes to your mind? What comes to you? Do not think of an elephant, right? I knowingly wanted to create an elephant in your mind. I say it negatively. But you have used the similar construction, similar sentence structure with your children. Your son is bringing coffee for you. You are busy reading a magazine. And he says, son, bring me some coffee. So son goes to the kitchen, he's about 8 years old. He does it very carefully. He brings the coffee cup. He walked 20 yards from the kitchen to the living room. And you just happen to look up at that time. What do you say? Don't drop it. What happens? And that's your neurosis. Because think about it. If you are rational, if he walked 20 yards without spilling a drop, logically speaking, the chances are he would not spill a drop 5 more yards. Is that correct? You had no need to say anything. But it is your program sentence. Don't drop it, because your parents were telling you the same thing. And their parents were telling them the same thing. It's passed on. And so, worst part, you say, don't drop it. So when he drops it, you really feel good. You know what you say? It makes you feel proud. You know what you say? See what I told you? Little kid, who is always in a hypnotic state. Believe me. Parents being the best or the worst hypnotist, depending on whether they give positive suggestion or negative one. These are the worst types. See what I told you? So the little kid says, yes, mommy or daddy, you're right, and you'll be right all the time. That's the interpretation he takes unconsciously. You see? So he keeps on dropping coffee cups. Clumsy, that's what he becomes. Or anybody who works in a factory, anybody who works in a machine shop or a factory in this group, raise your hand. Nobody? I tell you something. If you work in a machine shop or factory, you know some people who do, ask them. If there are some people who have accidents in these machine shops or factories, generally they are the same people who have accidents over and over again. Same people. They'll cut their finger and they will fall. They are the same people because they have been conditioned like this. Negatively. So every time accident occurs, it reinforces. It always happens to me. They tell themselves, it always happens to me. And your subconscious mind only knows one word. You know what that is? Yes. Tathastu. I learned this lesson when I was 7 years old. I had a very religious aunt. And I said something very negative once. And she said, Baba, I'm the youngest kid in the family. She said, Babo. And in Gujarati, she said, Baba, don't say things like that. I said, why not, Faiba? She said, there are 33 crore gods in this antriksh, in this space. They all are saying, Tathastu, 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 so be it, simultaneously. And he said, if you say negative things, 33 crores of them saying, so be it, so it will happen. And I thought, oh my God, 33 crores against me. Why not have them work for me? Say positive things. All they are saying is Tathastu. So symbolically speaking, your subconscious mind is the representation of those 33 crore gods, which is always saying Tathastu. So start saying good things about yourself. Because there are enough people who will say bad things about you. Believe me. So don't add one more to the list, namely yourself. Because you say things to yourself all the time, giving yourself negative suggestion, positive suggestion, indifferent suggestion. When you become aware of this process, you will be able to filter all this stuff and take the good in. Now, so then he came, Ashutosh, and he says, what did I tell him then? Coming back to the conditioning test.
Stretch your hands.
Extend your arms. And he was standing over there on my left hand side at that time. Is that correct? Extend your hand. Then what did I tell him?
Keep them parallel to the ground.
Keep them parallel to the ground, right? Then I said move to the right. Why did I do it? Yes?
So you knew that I will put my arms down and then I will go there and again do that.
No.
You wanted to,
Yes, I wanted to?
you wanted to make sure him the posture.
No. हाँ Merchant साहब?
टेस्ट करना था कि उनका कॉन्सेंस रिलेटेड टू द सब्जेक्ट
नहीं.
Whether he would take the suggestion.
Precisely, whether he will accept the suggestion or not. Because by the very fact that he moved from my left to my right, it is one more yes. He has acquiesced. He has acquiesced that he has agreed to do this. Which means I already otherwise it was just fine if he stood on my left side and did the test. I moved him just to give him one more suggestion. Does it make sense? Just to get one more yes, which is irrelevant to the process. At the same time is relevant because basically I am conditioning him to say yes. You know, say good salespeople, they come to sell you things, they ask you all sorts of irrelevant questions, answers to which they already know. Because they want to condition you, to saying yes. Sir, this is Pally Hill, isn't that right? I mean, he knows you're living on Pally Hill. He will still ask you, so you say yes. Is this house number so and so? I just wanted to check. Yes. He's just spelling of your name this way. He spelled it right, checked it out, and then he asks you. So he conditions you to say yes. By asking question, answer to which he already knows. Make sense? So the point is, so here when he moved this side, I said, okay, now close your eyes and
Don't open it.
that's a memorized sentence. I never said it. Remember? I was waiting for it. She said, close your eyes and don't open. Not once did I say, oh, don't open. What did I say?
Open them when I tell
Open them when I tell you to. See, because don't open them, then he becomes suspicious. Negative suggestion, reverse effect. No, don't open. What is he going to do? Because first thought that is planted the moment I said don't open is to open. So he wants to be rational about it. He opens one eye. He said 2 eyes, I can open one. You see? If I did not say anything, I say close your eyes, then he will be confused. When am I supposed to open them? Should I open them? What is it doing? Remember, when you are communicating with somebody, always make 2 things very clear. What behavior you expect of that person and when. Close your eyes, that is the behavior I expect of him. And open them when I tell you to, that is the behavior I expect at a particular time or a signal. Is that clear enough? Remember this all the time in communication. Have you made these 2 requirements? Open your eyes when I tell you to. So he closes his eyes. Then what did I say? What did I say?
raise the hand.
Which we done. Now what did I say then?
Imagine there's a weight on the
Imagine. That's important. Because if I say there is a weight, he said, what are you talking about? There is no weight. You understand? Here in hypnosis we deal with the person's imagination. I say imagine there is a very heavy weight tied to your right arm, which is bringing your right arm down. I did not specify the heavy weight. If I say imagine 30 kilos, he said, oh, I can handle it. Make sense? So use words to express, not to impress. Economy of words. One of the finest communicators in the world knew this principle better than anybody else. You know who that was? Gandhiji. First time he got up to plead his case in a court, you know he'd experienced? He said, my head was reeling and I thought the whole court was doing likewise. I could not stand and I felt that my heart was sinking into my boots. I told the agent I could not conduct the case and I sat down. The lawyers must have laughed and the people must have enjoyed the spectacle, but I was past seeing anything. This was his experience. And this is the man who moved millions later. Because most people would have a failure pattern after an experience like that. He had a success pattern. because he took that as a data or a mistake from which he could learn. He said, the greatest lesson I learned from that experience is that economy of words. He said, now I can give myself a certificate that a thoughtless word has never escaped my tongue or my pen. A thoughtless word has never escaped my tongue or my pen. How many of you can give yourself half of that certificate? Think about it. And why I'm analyzing this, because here I hardly exchanged 5 sentences basically. Is that correct? I repeated them several times, but basically there were 5, 6 sentences that I exchanged. They were very simple words. Is that true? But so much thought went into phrasing them and thinking about them. I could give you a 60-page analysis of what I did and what I did. I would not do. I'm giving you some taste of it. I will not write those 60 pages because they've been written. There's a book called The First 5 Minutes by Dr. Pittenger and other co-authors. It is over 300 pages analyzing a dialogue between a psychiatrist and a patient that lasted for 5 minutes. 5-minute dialogue, 300-page analysis to point out the process of communication and the complexities thereof. So in a simple thing like this, I had so much thought. You do in your lifetime so many complex transactions communication-wise. And think of what problems you must be facing. How you speak, what your voice is. You heard my voice. When I was saying heavy, did my voice convey that? When I was saying light, did my voice convey that? Because that's the instrument. Your voice is the instrument through which you communicate, and most people use their voices ineffectively. They don't do it efficiently. They can't use them effectively. Terrible. As a matter of fact, you are not taught. Everybody uses the familiar voice and not the natural voice, because the natural voice is suppressed right from your childhood. You say something louder when you're a kid or scream, what happens? What do the parents tell you?
You're not on the stage.
You're not on the stage. Or they spank you, or don't scream. What will neighbors think? Is that true or not? So your voice remains the same all the time, meek. Now, the point is, I conveyed that, and I said light. When I said the heavy weight, what did I do? No. I said heavy weight, what did I do? I did something when I said those words. I touched the right arm on the top. Why did I do so?
To make him feel.
Make him feel what?
The weight.
The weight. That's an obvious reason. Now, not so obvious a reason. What is that? Can you guess?
To keep the communication.
That is one. What else?
To suggest that there is some weight.
Which we already covered.
Because the arm was going down.
That we covered, huh?
Touch signal.
No, touch signal, that we connected, that we got. What else? To tell him that this is your right arm in case you don't know. Not that he doesn't know. Get this. Not that he doesn't know, but some people are confused about right and left. Is that right? Is that right? Which means they have a procedure worked out. That when I come out of my house, the Hanuman temple is on my left, and the opposite of that then will be right. So while I'm saying, imagine a heavy weight on your right arm, they are thinking about the Hanuman temple. Does it make sense? So which means maximum thoughts, which means my connection with them is suffering. I want them to be listening to me and having their attention riveted to what I'm saying. And therefore, I control this stimulus by pointing out that this is your right arm, just in case you don't know. Then I touch the left arm on the bottom and say a light balloon. I did not say light balloon filled with helium gas. He said, what is that? He never found out about helium gas. That's unnecessary use of word. It's not economy of word that Gandhiji spoke of. Because when I say helium gas, he said, I don't need to say it. Or he might be a better chemist who has done some invention, better gas for balloons. He said, oh no, that's useless, I've got another one. So he's thinking about that one. And then I just kept on repeating those sentences. What was the effect? Arm gradually, right arm went down, the left arm went up. Is that correct? If it happened too suddenly, then that is not the effect of suggestion. That's military. If I say right arm down, left arm up, that is not the effect of suggestion. The suggestion take effect gradually. So I have to watch the reaction of the subject. Is that clear? What I mean by conditioning test and how they work. Now I'll show you or demonstrate another conditioning test which is given to a whole group. This morning I mentioned that any stage hypnotist, no matter how good or bad he is, can only work with what kinds of subjects? Huh? What type of subjects? Somnambulistic, right. Somnambulistic. How many percent of the people? 20 to 25. 20 to 25% of the people are somnambulistic. Now how does he know? He doesn't know. Stage hypnotist has no way of knowing by looking at them generally. Plus they are in the audience, he is on the stage. So what does he do? He gives the group a test. First of all, before the stage hypnotist comes to town, there is a big publicity. Newspapers, this, that and the other. Then you buy a ticket and you go to Birla Matushri Hall, Sabhagar. There you are, and there are 1,000 other people. So there is a safety in number. You know, when you see 1,000 people, you think, oh, you made a wise choice. You know, that guy must be good. Then the stage hypnotist comes in a dark suit, and there is a soft music in the background. There is a fancy woman, you know, doing things here and there, and there is a decorum about the whole thing, which already has started conditioning you. And then he says, "Ladies and gentlemen, such a delight for me to be here in Bombay, such a lovely city, with the loveliest people I met in the world. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm so glad you have come to this evening because it's not going to be only entertaining, but it's also going to be educational. And I'm very happy that doctors have come to this show because they know the real value of hypnosis and its scientific basis. There may not be a single doctor in the auditorium, but the stage hypnotist is smart. He is using this, what we call indirect suggestion. Moment he says, doctors have come, all the people who are not doctors say, oh, this is scientific. Yeah. Because we are seduced by such suggestions. On a television, a man wearing an apron comes and says that this is a toothpaste which is good for you. We assume that he's a dentist. He's a paid actor for 50 rupees, you know, wearing an apron and looking clean cut. And people assume that. There was a series in American television known as Marcus Welby, MD, television series. An actor playing the role of a doctor. And some Americans wrote him letters asking for his advice. Dr. Welby, I got this problem. Could you tell me what to do? To this guy who was playing the role of a Dr. Welby, MD. We are all human beings are the same. This universal thing, believe me. We are all suggestive, whether you're American, Indian, or if you're from Pakistan or Thailand or Indonesia or Germany. It doesn't make any difference. Germany, we have a historical example with Hitler. Right? Here is a guy with broken German, convinced them that they should kill 6 million Jews. Horrible. We succeeded in convincing them. And they did it. In New Guyana, just a few years back in America, the guy took this... over 914 people committed mass suicide. Jim Jones. Is that correct or not? Which means all of us are suggestible. We accept suggestion all the time. Day in and day out. Now, so stage hypnotist has done this, and then he says, ladies and gentlemen, the more intelligent you are, better subject you are. Any volunteers? Out of 1,000 people, 50 are geniuses, right, in the audience. And they want others to know about it. So they flock to the stage. Now the stage hypnotist is not looking for Einsteins. He is looking for somnambulistic subjects, but at least he has a voluntary group to work with, right? So he gives these 50 people a test known as a hand lock or hand clasp test or any variation of it, some minor variation of that sort of a test. So out of this 50, he generally finds 5-10 people. Sometimes he doesn't succeed with these people, then he gives the test to the whole audience. And when you are sitting on your own seat and doing it, and everybody is doing it, you don't feel embarrassed about it, so you do it, and then once you succeeded in doing this test with you and you pass the test, then you would be volunteers. So any place in the world, any stage hypnotist can pick up 10-15 volunteers from any given audience by simple test. So what is that test? I'll give it to you. All right. What I'd like you to do is put your feet flat on the floor. This test, ladies and gentlemen, is simply to find out, it's one of the quickest ways of finding out who are the best subjects in a given group. Is that clear? That's the sole purpose. As I told you earlier, people are suggestible to different degrees. Different people take suggestion to different degrees. So this is the one to find out the people who are highly suggestible, very fast. You find this out by this test. Okay. Feet flat on the floor. Extend your hands in front of you, like that. And as your hands are in front, just palms touching each other, just select a spot on the ceiling and concentrate on a spot, any spot on the ceiling. Look at it, and as you are looking at a spot, your hands are getting glued together. They are becoming one piece of flesh. It's very hard for you to take your hands apart. They're getting glued together. The harder you try to take your hands apart, more glued they get. Try hard to take them apart. You find that you cannot take your hands apart. Come on, try hard to take your hands apart. Try hard to take your hands apart. You find you cannot take your hands apart. Try hard to take your hands apart. Come on, try hard to take your hands apart. Try hard to take your hands apart. You find you cannot take your hands apart. Okay, take them apart. Now we got about 6-7 excellent subjects in this group. Come here, please.